Nestled among the saltwater bayous along Florida's west coast lies a most unusual place. At first glance, Tarpon Springs would appear to be just another sleepy Gulf Coast town. With moss-covered live oaks, streets paved in brick, and the kind of southern homes where verandas are the standard fare. But look a little closer. Around here, there's also a whole lot of Greek going on. In fact, short of traveling about 7,000 miles east to Greece itself, this is about as close as you can get. Every year, thousands of tourists make the pilgrimage, and not just for a slice of Greece. You see, Tarpon Springs is also the international hub for a most unique commodity.
This is what Tarpon Springs is all about. Sponges, sponge divers, and sponge boats.
And all of those sponges have everything to do with all of those Greeks.
The Greek influence of Tarpon Springs came about and was born because of the sponge industry. Otherwise, you wouldn't have any Greeks in Tarpon Springs.
Captain George Belaris is a man who knows a lot about both. Captain Belaris is a sponge man, a descendant of a long line of Greek merchants who have practiced the sponge trade for more than 3,000 years.
My grandfather came to Tarpon Springs in 1904. When he saw the possibilities here, he went back to Greece and brought in my father and uncle. And they immediately bought a boat and then built another boat, and they started producing sponge.
And others also followed by the hundreds in what became known as the Black Gold Rush, named for the black wool sponge found in great abundance in the waters of the Gulf of Mexico. And others built sponge boats as well. In time, there were over 150 boats in the harbor, so many they were tied 4 abreast. Captain Belaris's family would name their vessels for the Greek patron saint of the sea, St. Nicholas. A seaman of the old school, Captain Belaris sponges to this day aboard the St. Nicholas III, built by his grandfather and father 65 years ago.
This boat was like a dream come true for my grandfather and father. The big thing here was to own a boat. The design of the typical sponge boat as the St. Nicholas III is 2,500 years old.
And the Greeks also brought with them a new technology. It allowed them to breathe underwater and work long hours at great depths, where the very best sponges were found. In recent years, the old brass helmet, known as the bell, was traded for the more modern regulator and diver's mask. But for the most part, the job remains the same.
It's a daybreak to dark job. There's not a guaranteed salary. All of it is share basis. There's no time and a half or overtime. There's no days off or vacation with pay or any benefits at all, or even insurance. You're dealing with life and death on a daily basis, moment to moment. Bottom line is, you want the people to stay alive, and number 2, you want them to make sure that they make a decent living.
The captain's experience has taught him that only the Greeks seem to have what it takes to survive in the sponge trade.
The work ethic of the Greek, generally speaking, is hard to match.
But Greek divers are no longer in plentiful supply. The old-timers are all but gone. In the new generation, the American-born sons mostly have pursued their dreams elsewhere.
You've lost the young guys. The father-to-son chain is broken. This is why you have the problem of the shortage of manpower. And this is why we go to Greece. We tried training here, it doesn't work. We now, or as we speak, have Greek sponge divers, and they're in their 50s. They're not young children.
So the few sons who remain are tended closely by the old captain.
A lot of work, and patience.
As the senior sponge man, he hands down the ways and knowledge of the old profession.
You have to have a boat of consequence, but you also have to have a crew of consequence. Quality crews with quality boats. And if there's anything down there, there will be quality production, and this thing will continually blossom.
To most, it might seem harsh and uninviting, but for old Greek spongemen, it's a life worth living and a heritage worth keeping.
It's a way of life that you can't find anywhere else except on a sponge boat or in the sponge industry.
And once again, much as they have done for 3 millennia, the Greek spongemen head for sea. They're in search of black gold, in pursuit of an age-old tradition. And in Tarpon Springs, at least for now, the Greek goes on.